REN, much like Balancer, much like what we saw in what's the other one? The one before Quant. A lot of imbalance here, a lot of red candles, no green candles. At the very least, do expect the green candles to balance out the red candles. So at the very least, you should target the bottom of this large resistance, right? Previous support, again, rising wedge, lost. Previous support, new resistance. But again, by virtue of showing strength, do expect that previous resistance to be broken, and then for our target to probably be the secondary resistance, which is the top of this move right here. So that's what I'm seeing on these charts. Again, don't be surprised if this happens rather quickly and you start getting that move down in these three waves in time for the full moon. So in all of that time, I don't expect Bitcoin to do much of anything. And that shouldn't surprise you. That should not surprise you given what we've seen from Bitcoin in the past 16 months. I hope this makes sense. Hello everyone, my name's Dean, let's talk crypto. This is where you subscribe for almost daily Bitcoin updates and technical analysis. We track the price of Bitcoin as a proxy for the cryptocurrency markets at large. Today is April 20th, 2024. And the halving has happened. It's official. Bitcoin has halved for the fourth time in its history. Now what? What should we expect in the immediate short term for the price action? So I'm here to give you my projections, my predictions for what is likely to happen within the next coming days as a result, as a direct result of the halving, okay? And it may surprise you what I see for Bitcoin and what I see for other altcoins. So if that sounds interesting to you, then watch until the very end. Let's get into this. Let's start with Bitcoin. Okay, let me say this from the outset. I know yesterday in my more comprehensive live stream about the halving, I talked about Bitcoin likely going to a 71.6 target, right? Somewhere up here, because for a few reasons, right? And also because we were likely going to liquidate some short positions up here. But not just yet. And I'm going to tell you why, right? Not just yet. That is a target, but not before something else happens. The first target I'm seeing for Bitcoin is actually over here, okay? Between 66 and 67K, okay? So it's not that far up. However, I see a much higher target for altcoins. We're going to get into that in a second. But why are my targets for Bitcoin in the immediate short term so low or so underwhelming? It's because this, my friends, is a channel right here that we have in blue, okay, quite clearly. So the context of which is, one, we have this 50-day channel, 45-day channel, if you will, that Bitcoin has been in beneath all-time high. And we've been going up and down, consolidating under all-time high, which is what you want to see. It's very bullish, okay? Under no circumstances do I see us breaking below this channel, all right? I'm seeing this in blue as being the mini Wyckoff accumulation to end this larger consolidation and turn the price around. Okay, so that's the context. Now let's focus on what is happening in this blue channel, this descending channel, this falling wedge of a channel. So the first thing that jumps out at me is we have a nice W pattern, a W reversal. This is what you want to see, right? A W reversal on the high time frame, and on the low time frame, you actually see 3 touches on the bottom. 3 times a charm. This is exactly what you want to see. You talk about 2 degrees of AB basing and a pivot. This is exactly what you want to see, and I counted this out yesterday on the live stream A wave, a B wave, my second A wave, my second B wave, and we have one more to go. So this is partly why I think this is the ultimate upside target in the immediate short term before we hit this target. Why this? If you watch my channel, if you follow my work, you know exactly why. Any channel has three important aspects: a top resistance, a bottom support, and a midline, which is resistance when you're below it, support when you're above it. In order to leave the confines, the constraints of this channel, we first need to hit all three. All right, so this, the bottom support, hit. I do not, like I said again, foresee us going down any lower than where we have already gone. That's pretty much finished. The bottom limit, the bottom support level has been fixed, has been set, right? Buyers are stepping in strong at this level. You can see as evidenced by the strong wicks to the downside or to the upside, right? Strong wicks to the downside showing quick buying pressure, right? And although we can wick above the top resistance, we do not leave the confines of this channel without first retesting the midline as support. And why do I see this level between 66 and 67K being the uppermost target in the immediate short term? It's because if we use our Fibonacci retracement tool from the bottom of this purported impulse right here, and I'm counting this as my impulse right there. That's an impulsive move. That's a 5-wave move. It's clear up, right? And all of this is corrective. And I think you're basically dealing with a 3-wave flat correction. So 5 waves up, 3 waves down. I still think we need to get the 3 waves down, right? And basically this may go something like this. That's what I'm seeing. This is what I'm seeing in Bitcoin in the coming hours. And why am I seeing it? It's more likely than not because this midline has to be retested. Few people understand this about channel trading. The midline has to be retested. I've never seen a channel sort of completed without the midline being retested as resistance or support, right? So it has to be retested in a bullish channel, meaning a channel that breaks out. You have to retest the midline as support. Previous resistance is new support. So what I'm going to do in my analysis is simply, I'm going to jump down into the hourly time frame so I can get a little more precise. And I see this as my, yeah, that was right. I'll put it over here as my orthodox high for this 5-wave move. Okay, so this impulse ends here around 65,400. Okay, so what I'm seeing is that's happening on Bitcoin is this. Got a 3-wave move. This is another 3-wave move. This may continue up, but as soon as this B wave, which I would call, so it's an ABC flat correction. You can call this A, you can call this B. As soon as this B wave hits this resistance up here, it comes back down and retests 61,800 as support. And 61,800 is both the 0.618 or the golden pocket between the 0.5 and the 618 of this prior 5-wave impulse, and it is the midline of this channel. And another reason I love this analysis is because tomorrow is April 21st, and April 21st represents the next full moon. Okay, and we know about full moons and financial markets is that full moons represent local market bottoms. So I do expect for Bitcoin to respect that trend and give us a local market bottom on the full moon sometime tomorrow or 2 days after. So remember, the studies show that 0 to 3 days after a full moon, you get local market bottoms based off of, lunar cycles. So that's what I'm seeing Bitcoin do. So if you're bullish on Bitcoin, just be careful. We're not out of the woods yet. And at the end of the day, what you should expect with a high degree of probability is something that looks like this, if you sketch it out. Okay, so you're essentially giving yourself this kind of pattern. You have a double bottom. You can say that that isn't, you can simplify this. You can say that you're getting some sort of inverse head and shoulders here. This double bottom is like your head, and this is your left shoulder, and this is your right shoulder, but you have to come back down for your right shoulder. So that's what I'm seeing on the charts. This is why I'm bullish with Bitcoin, but I understand that this midline is yet to be retested, and it's likely to be retested before we leave this channel in earnest. However, and this is the most important and the most, well, maybe not the most important, but this is the most exciting, definitely the most exciting part of this analysis. And guys, remember, if you're getting value, definitely like the video, share, and subscribe. Consider buying me a coffee at the pinned link in the comment below. So, the more interesting part of this analysis is the fact that despite Bitcoin being relatively limited in its upside potential, we are seeing the beginning of a massive move in altcoins. Look at this chart. This is the crypto Bitcoin dominance chart, meaning how Bitcoin is faring, how Bitcoin is performing against the rest of the cryptocurrency market, i.e. altcoins. When it's going down, that means Bitcoin's losing out to altcoins. Altcoins are gaining in market cap against Bitcoin, and vice versa. When it's going up, that means, Bitcoin's gaining against altcoins in market cap. And as I said yesterday, since the end of 2022, we have essentially seen Bitcoin creaming altcoins in general, right? Just a strong impulse up, right, to this resistance here. That's basically denoting you are gaining, you're likely winning trades by being in Bitcoin rather than being in altcoins. Okay, and I think the trend changes here, and as you can see, I'm on the daily time frame. You can see a loss of this level, and I talked about this yesterday in how if you look on the higher time frames, every single time we've entered this phase of the cryptocurrency bull market, we did peak up and out of this resistance, this 2,500 day resistance, and we effectuated a swing failure pattern here. So we kind of faked up and lost it. Here we faked up, and this is us losing it, right? And this is what it's looking like on the charts and also on the stochastic RSI momentum indicator on the weekly time frame and on the daily time frame, right? It looks like we're not bottoming out here, and it looks like we're coming down and we're effectuating that swing failure pattern. That's really exciting. So basically what that means is, if you look at your charts, right, and more directly, because you can do this analysis directly, you can do this analysis by looking at this indicator, but more directly, if you look at this, your charts rather, what you should see is Bitcoin's up 1.7% for the day. Great. Meanwhile, most altcoins are up 3, 8, 7, 5, 6%. These are the ones I'm trading at this moment. And actually, I'm going to use these as an example of targets I'm setting for these particular trades, okay, in the immediate short term. So, as a result, and again, this, you can use the principles. Not everybody's going to be trading balancer hook, lit entry, quant, and REN. But what I hope you can do is use the principles that I'm discussing here and make your own analyses. TradingView can be used on a free account, and all you need, is a few lines and some fibs. You don't need to pay anything. Nothing I'm doing requires any fancy indicators. You just need a basic understanding of support and resistance. So let's start off with balancer. So balancer, first you have to understand what you're up against. So what happened was you were in this consolidation and you lost this level. So here is really where you want to pay attention to. This is the loss of important support, and you came down and you went down the height of this pattern. So you essentially hit that target. So following that, you put in a 7-day consolidation, and now what you're doing is you're breaking up and out of that consolidation. All of this is very one-sided. By that I mean it's imbalanced. Only sellers partook. So what you're likely to get with a high degree of probability, at the very, very least, is the price balancing out. So red candles only here, you're likely to get green candles to balance this price action out here because you pretty much just dumped. Bitcoin didn't dump this severely, so as a result, you don't expect Bitcoin to have to make up what it didn't lose. Altcoins that lost a lot are going to have to make up a lot. Makes sense, right? Things are balancing out. So here, what you should expect at the very least is making up this imbalance in the charts, okay? That's my first target right here. All right, my next target is actually up here. And why is it up here? So my next target is up here because if you look at this as some sort of herald or initial move into a new bull market, which this is, right? Because a lot of these altcoins on the high time frame have done nothing, whereas Bitcoin has gone from 16K all the way to all-time high 70 plus K. Meanwhile, these altcoins are still at their bear market lows. So you can expect that initial move to have a decent amount of strength. So my first target actually may be at minimum here and at maximum here. And why here? Because it's a show of strength. This was previously the resistance, right? This channel, this pattern rather, this down sloping resistance was true for since mid-March. And basically the price didn't have enough strength and it fought against this downsloping resistance and eventually lost it. A show of strength and a new bullish trend would essentially say, hey, I'm back, and now your previous resistance is now my new support. Does that make sense? You're basically showing strength. The idea is, if I'm really in a new bull market for a lot of these altcoins, I'm going to expect to show strength, break previous resistance, and flip it into new support. So this is why my target's here, and it's specifically up there. It's not just randomly up there, but it's specifically up there because I'm treating this right here as my orthodox bottom right here of my impulse. So if this impulse continues, it continues all the way up here and it comes down to my golden pocket. So that's why. Does that make sense? I'm expecting a 5-wave move and a 3-wave move and retesting this resistance as support at some point there, some point there, right? So that's the idea. That's the idea. I hope that makes sense. So that's what I'm looking at. That's why I have my balancer target up here. And if we do end up stopping over here and then showing massive resistance, then I start taking profit here because I understand that that's also a potential target. And still, you've broken that resistance. Even though you don't have enough gas to get up here, you've shown strength. Okay, so that is my first example of how I would look at setting targets for my first move post halving. Okay, hook. This is another altcoin that is breaking out of its 7-day consolidation after a large dump, as you can see very clearly. This was basically a trend, a rising wedge, and didn't have enough gas, and they broke down, or it broke down, actually made a lower low right here from this rising wedge, okay? And so if we're showing strength, what I would expect is, after this consolidation, not just to break up and then find resistance at this previous support turned into resistance. What I would expect is you come, you find this to be resistance, you probably gather a wave 4 consolidation here, and then you pop out like this, okay? And then that's the end. And so I would actually move this target, for the reasons I just stated, up here, okay, around 171. And so that, again, is a show of strength, because it shows that that previous resistance is now new support. And it's just experience talking. I don't know why markets do this. It's just, this is what I've observed over the years I've been trading. When markets go into a phase of strength, an impulsive phase of strength, they show strength through breaking previous resistances and showing that, you know, now the market is breaking them, right? If we're still going to stay in some sort of corrective price action, what you're going to see is every little bit of resistance is going to be met with a rejection, and you're not going to break it. But showing strength means breaking resistance immediately and then retesting it as support in some way, shape, or form. So, I mean, you could go a little higher, right? Especially if you're going to come back and retest this as support in some way. But you can also do something like this. Like I said, wave 4 up here, wave 5, bounce like this, and then, you know, make a 3-wave move like that, right? And that would be the first. Some people are going to think, oh, that's it. It's going to do your ABC correction like that. So that's what I'm seeing. Again, it's hard to say. This is definitely happening. But the idea, I hope that's what you're taking home, is if these altcoins are really showing strength, whatever your previous resistance was, expect it to be broken in some way, shape, or form. And you're probably going to end the run at the next significant resistance. So the first significant resistance is going to be broken. Next significant resistance marks the end of the impulse. That's my best bet for where to take profit on some of these altcoin moves. And as you can see, it's very clear that this is moving impulsively. And look, I talked about imbalance in the previous asset. Look at all this imbalance. You can expect, with a high degree of probability, at the very least, for all of that to be made up, okay? So that's my target for hook, and that's why I would set my target around 170 plus, okay? Litentry, same deal, almost exactly the same deal as what we saw in hook. You have your consolidation of 7 days, your breakout. This is your initial resistance of, you know, a month and a half. Expect that to be broken. Your next likely resistance is the top here. That's where I would expect a good take profit. And again, I think you do a 3-wave move, bouncing off of here, revisiting that, and then coming down for your final sort of a 3-wave correction. And at the end of the day, you put in your first wave, and it's going to look like this: 5 waves up, 3 waves down. I hope that makes sense. Okay? So these are just the principles I hope that you're taking home. Not necessarily, oh, Dean showed me what the target is going to be for X asset, and I'm just going to copy pasta whatever he said. That's not how you do your own homework. Do your own research, set your own targets, sit with these charts, make sense of what you can, and try to understand what's happening. There's support and resistance in front of you. All you have to be able to do is read it. And if you look at it long enough, enough, rather, yeah, look at it long enough, look at enough examples, it starts making sense because there's a rhyme and a reason, especially for impulsive price action. Okay, for quant, this is actually my first target right here. This is my first level of resistance, okay? And I would believe that you make that up and you actually break through here and you slightly peek up and out of it and come back. Again, the idea is if you're showing strength, if we're really impulsive, what you're likely to do is you're likely to break previous resistances, showing strength, showing a new trend is in town. And this, on this chart at least, has been resistance. This $150 dollar level for quant has been resistance for quite some time, okay? It's even longer, but this chart doesn't have that much data. But, you know, at least 400 and some odd days. So what I would expect, again, by virtue of showing strength, you break it, but at the same time, you don't just break a 400-day resistance without some resistance, without some consolidation. I do expect us to lose steam a little after breaking it slightly and then coming back, retesting it as support, and then going on. Okay, so that's what I'm seeing for quant. All right, and last but not least, again, these are just examples. Hopefully this helps you. REN, much like Balancer, much like what we saw in what's the other one? The one before quant. A lot of imbalance here, a lot of red candles, no green candles. At the very least, do expect the green candles to balance out the red candles. So at the very least, you should target the bottom of this large resistance, right? Previous support, again, rising wedge, lost. Previous support, new resistance. But again, by virtue of showing strength, do expect that previous resistance to be broken, and then for our target to probably be the secondary resistance, which is the top of this move right here. So that's what I'm seeing on these charts. Again, don't be surprised if this happens rather quickly and you start getting that move down in these three waves in time for the full moon. So in all of that time, I don't expect Bitcoin to do much of anything. And that shouldn't surprise you. That should not surprise you given what we've seen from Bitcoin in the past 16 months. I hope this makes sense. Hope this is helpful. Hope this is useful. Like, share, and subscribe if you got value. Consider buying me a coffee at the pinned comment below, and I'll see you next time.